North Carolina stands proud between the Atlantic Ocean and the Blue Ridge Mountains. More than 10 million people call it home, and its economy is among the strongest in the South. In 2024, the state produced about $662 billion in goods and services, a scale larger than the entire economy of Sweden. The state even earns billions from glazed Krispy Kreme donuts that Americans cannot resist. It is also the place that gave the world Pepsi, a drink whose taste is recognized across every continent. From booming cities to scenic mountains and endless coastlines, North Carolina looks like a land where opportunity never ends. Yet behind this success story lies a harsher reality. The long coast is battered by hurricanes and erosion, while fragile barrier islands shrink year after year. Once mighty textile and furniture towns are filled with empty mills and abandoned houses. Rural counties face poverty, hospitals shut their doors, and schools struggle to stay open. The very industries that once made this state rich now leave scars that cannot be ignored. Will North Carolina continue to grow, or will these crises pull it down? In this video, we will explore both faces of the Tar Heel state, celebrating its triumphs and exposing the challenges that threaten its future. But before we start, here's a little question to entertain you. What is the official state vegetable of North Carolina? A. Corn. B. Sweet potato. C. Tomato. D. Cabbage. Share your opinion in the comments and patiently watch this video till the end to find out the truth. Number 10. Retirement Heaven. North Carolina has become one of the most attractive retirement destinations in the United States. More than 10 million people live here, and the senior population already exceeds 1.8 million. By 2030, the number of residents over 65 will pass 2 million, making almost 1 in 5 North Carolinians a retiree. This wave of newcomers transforms the state's economy and culture. Housing is one of the strongest magnets. The median home price in North Carolina is about $320,000. That is much lower than the national median, which is closer to $420,000. Many retirees from the Northeast sell their houses for double that price, then buy bigger properties here with money left over. In towns like Cary, Hendersonville, and Wilmington, retirement communities drive entire local markets. Property taxes average around 0.77%, lower than in many northern states, and this makes the state even more appealing. Day-to-day expenses also shape the story. Cost of living in North Carolina is about 7 to 10% below the national average. Seniors spend around $3,500 a year on food, with grocery prices lower than in Florida or Virginia. A dozen eggs averages $2.80, a gallon of milk $3.70, and a loaf of bread under $4. Healthcare remains a large part of spending. Residents over 65 pay between $6,500 and $7,000 a year on medical costs. Hospitals in Charlotte, Raleigh, and Durham have expanded to handle demand, while small counties struggle to keep pace. Retirees also spend heavily on leisure. Golf courses, coastal resorts, and mountain cabins fill with people who moved here for their final decades. The Outer Banks attract thousands every summer, while Asheville and Boone remain popular for mountain escapes. Tourism linked to retirees brings billions of dollars into the state each year. Restaurants, grocery chains, and local service providers all benefit from this steady flow of retirement money. In many counties, retirees are now the biggest single economic force. But challenges are mounting. Rising demand pushes up home prices in previously affordable towns, with some areas doubling in value since 2000. Roads around retirement hubs often stay congested, and local hospitals sometimes report shortages of staff. Rural areas feel the pressure when wealthy retirees move in and reshape small communities. Longtime residents worry that their way of life is being replaced by an economy built only for outsiders. North Carolina may indeed look like retirement heaven, but the future is uncertain. The state must balance growth with sustainability while meeting the needs of both newcomers and locals. Are you from North Carolina? Do you believe there is a better state to spend your retirement years? Share your opinion in the comments. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And now, let's dive in. Number 9. Hurricane Alley. North Carolina's long Atlantic shoreline is one of the most striking in the United States. The Outer Banks stretch for more than 100 miles, forming fragile barrier islands that protect the mainland. Millions of tourists visit every year for fishing, boating, and wide sandy beaches, yet this paradise sits in one of the most dangerous storm corridors in the country. Since records began in 1851, more than 400 tropical systems have passed near the state. Only Florida has faced more direct hits. Hurricane season runs from June through November, and North Carolina feels the impact almost every year. Hurricane Hazel in 1954 still stands as one of the strongest to hit the coast, with winds over 140 miles per hour. More recently, Hurricane Florence in 2018 caused catastrophic flooding, dumping more than 30 inches of rain in some places and damaging over 100,000 homes. Insured losses reached more than $24 billion, making it one of the costliest storms in state history. In 2019, Hurricane Dorian isolated Ocracoke Island for weeks, showing how quickly entire communities can be cut off. The financial impact is severe and growing. Damage from hurricanes in North Carolina has topped $50 billion over the past 30 years. Agriculture has taken repeated blows. Florence alone destroyed nearly 4 million chickens and turkeys and wiped out crops of sweet potatoes, corn, and tobacco. Rural economies often struggle for years to recover from a single major storm. Families find themselves in debt, while businesses close their doors permanently. Insurance has become one of the most pressing issues. In Florida, the crisis is already visible, as dozens of insurers have collapsed or withdrawn from the market. Homeowners there face premiums of $5,000 to $6,000 a year, and some cannot find coverage at all. North Carolina is not yet at that level, but the trend is moving in the same direction. Average home insurance premiums here are closer to $1,700 to $2,000 a year. Yet coastal counties have seen steep increases, and more families worry about losing affordable coverage. Insurers warn that 1 or 2 major storms could trigger a Florida-style breakdown. Rising sea levels magnify the danger. The waters off North Carolina's coast are climbing faster than the global average. Barrier islands are retreating toward the mainland, and some have already vanished. Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, the tallest brick lighthouse in the United States, had to be moved inland in 1999 to save it from erosion. Roads wash away after every storm, and entire neighborhoods live under constant risk. For many families, the dream of life by the sea has become an expensive gamble. North Carolina's coast is both a gift and a burden. It brings natural beauty and economic activity, yet it is constantly threatened by the Atlantic. Would you take the risk of living by the water here? Do you think North Carolina will soon face the same insurance crisis as Florida? Share your opinion in the comments and tell us what you think. Our team needs your help. Subscribe to our channel to help more people learn the truth about current events. And now, we move on. Number 8. Pepsi's birthplace. North Carolina is a state that has shaped American culture in many ways. It has given the nation famous athletes, great music, and enduring traditions. But it has also been the birthplace of a drink recognized across every continent. In 1893, in the small city of New Bern, a pharmacist named Caleb Bradham mixed sugar, water, caramel, and natural flavors in the back of his drugstore. He first called it Brad's Drink, but in 1898 he renamed it Pepsi Cola, inspired by the idea of energy and vitality. From that quiet southern town, a global story began. The drink spread quickly across the state, and by the 1930s it became a strong competitor in the national market. During the Great Depression, Pepsi introduced a 12-ounce bottle for the price of a nickel, double the size of Coca-Cola's product. This move gave struggling families more value and helped Pepsi survive when other businesses failed. In the decades that followed, Pepsi grew into a rival that stood toe-to-toe with Coca-Cola. Colorful advertising, music campaigns, and the use of television made the brand part of American life. What started as an experiment in a small pharmacy became a symbol of a changing consumer culture. Today, PepsiCo is a multinational empire. The company headquarters are in Purchase, New York, and its portfolio goes far beyond soda. It owns Frito-Lay, Gatorade, Quaker, Tropicana, and dozens of other food and beverage brands. In 2023, PepsiCo reported revenues of about $91 billion, with snacks from Frito-Lay alone generating more than $20 billion. The headquarters may be far from North Carolina, but the state keeps its place in the brand's history. In New Bern, the original pharmacy has been restored as the Birthplace of Pepsi Museum. Visitors can sample Pepsi at a fountain, see historic ads, and buy souvenirs that celebrate Bradham's invention. It draws thousands of tourists each year, creating steady business for local restaurants and hotels. For New Bern, it is not just a museum, but also an engine of local pride and tourism. This memory keeps North Carolina connected to a company that now spans the globe. PepsiCo also maintains a real presence in the state. Bottling plants, distribution centers, and offices employ thousands of people. The company pays millions in taxes and invests in community programs across North Carolina. While the global profits flow through Wall Street, the state still gains jobs, revenue, and recognition. North Carolina remains proud to be the place where Pepsi was born, and that identity continues to shape its cultural image. Pepsi began as a small-town experiment and became one of the most valuable brands in the world. Are you in the Coca-Cola team or in the Pepsi team? Would you visit New Bern to see the place where this global story started? Share your thoughts in the comments. Now, please take a moment to hit that like button. It's a small action, but it helps YouTube's algorithm promote our videos to a wider audience. Number 7. Glazed in Carolina. North Carolina is not only known for its beaches and mountains, but also for one of the most famous desserts in the United States. In 1937, Vernon Rudolph rented a small building in Winston-Salem and began selling glazed donuts under the name Krispy Kreme. He used a secret recipe that came from a French chef in New Orleans. At first he sold donuts to local grocery stores, but soon the smell of fresh pastries brought crowds to his door. Rudolph cut a hole in the wall and started serving donuts directly to people on the street. That simple move turned a small bakery into the beginning of a national icon. Through the 1940s and 1950s, Krispy Kreme spread across the South. The green and red logo became a sign of comfort food and indulgence. Families lined up for warm donuts, and the phrase "hot now" became part of American culture. By the 1970s, Krispy Kreme was a household name in the Carolinas, and its expansion continued nationwide. What started as a local bakery in Winston-Salem became one of the fastest-growing chains in the United States. Its donuts, especially the original glazed, earned loyal fans who still chase the first bite when the light comes on in the store window. Today, Krispy Kreme operates more than 1,600 shops in over 30 countries. The company earned more than $1.6 billion in revenue in 2023. Millions of donuts are sold every day, making it one of the strongest dessert brands in the world. The headquarters remains in Charlotte, North Carolina, keeping the company tied to its home state. From that office, Krispy Kreme directs a global network of bakeries and partners. Even with competition from Dunkin' and Starbucks, the brand continues to expand, especially in international markets like the United Kingdom and Mexico. For North Carolina, the company is more than just a business. Krispy Kreme creates thousands of jobs and pays millions in taxes each year. Local universities and sports teams often feature Krispy Kreme promotions, linking the brand to community life. In Winston-Salem, the company museum shows the first shop and original equipment. Visitors can learn how the donuts were made and see how a single store grew into a worldwide empire. Tourists treat the stop as a landmark, proving that food heritage is as powerful as monuments or historic sites. Krispy Kreme is both a source of pride and a symbol of indulgence. Nutrition experts criticize donuts as unhealthy, but fans see them as a sweet comfort worth the calories. The balance between joy and guilt mirrors the bittersweet story of North Carolina itself. It is a reminder that this state shapes American habits in ways that reach far beyond its borders. North Carolina is home to Krispy Kreme, a brand that turned glazed donuts into a global business. Do you still treat yourself to a hot glazed donut when the sign lights up? Or do you think Krispy Kreme is overrated compared to other desserts? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us your choice. Share this video on X and Facebook to help us grow. Every share counts. Number 6. Tobacco Legacy. North Carolina remains the top tobacco producer in the United States. In 2022, the state harvested about 260 million pounds of leaf, worth more than $500 million. Tobacco is still among the 10 largest farm products in the state, and thousands of families in the Piedmont and Coastal Plain grow flu-cured crops for the global market. For many rural areas, it is still a vital source of income and stability. Major companies keep the industry alive. Reynolds American, based in Winston-Salem, sells Camel and Newport, two of the world's best-known cigarette brands. Leaf buyers such as Alliance One and Universal Leaf also operate from North Carolina, shipping local harvests worldwide. These firms employ thousands, pay millions in taxes, and link the state directly to global trade. Even as tobacco is a smaller share of the economy, it continues to provide contracts and steady work for farmers and processing plants. The scale of today's industry is far smaller than in the past. In the 1950s, the state produced more than 1 billion pounds of tobacco annually, compared to less than a third of that now. At its peak, tobacco alone brought billions into North Carolina's economy and supported hundreds of thousands of jobs. Today, many farms have shifted to sweet potatoes, soybeans, or poultry to stay in business. Still, tobacco remains a visible crop in the landscape, and exports continue to bring valuable dollars into the state economy. The history of tobacco runs deep. Plantations expanded during the 1800s, relying on enslaved labor until emancipation. After the Civil War, tenant farmers and sharecroppers kept the system alive. In Durham, Washington Duke created the American Tobacco Company, while in Winston-Salem, R.J. Reynolds launched Camel in 1913. These companies fueled industrial growth, built entire cities, and turned North Carolina into the tobacco capital of the world. By the late 20th century, the story shifted. Medical research linked smoking to deadly diseases, and lawsuits forced companies to pay billions in settlements. The 1998 master settlement marked the turning point, with production and jobs falling sharply. Empty warehouses and shuttered factories across Durham and Winston-Salem remind the state of both the wealth and the decline created by tobacco. Museums and restored buildings now preserve this heritage, telling younger generations how one crop shaped their state. Today, the golden leaf is no longer king, but its influence is undeniable. North Carolina still grows more tobacco than any other state, and the industry continues to shape its economy, exports, and culture. Do you see tobacco as a proud tradition that built North Carolina, or as a burden that left scars too deep to ignore? Share your view in the comments and let us know. Number 5. Textile collapse. North Carolina still produces more textiles and furniture than almost any other state in America. Global brands with household names trace their roots here, including Wrangler Jeans, Lee, Champion, Hanes, The North Face, and Vans. Millions of people around the world wear clothes designed, managed, or manufactured in part from this state. Furniture companies like Bassett, Lexington, and Hooker also keep North Carolina on the global map. These names prove that the state's textile and furniture industries are still alive, even if they are no longer as dominant as before. Today, about 60,000 people in North Carolina work in textiles, apparel, and furniture combined. Factories and offices spread across Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, and smaller towns still employ tens of thousands. Exports of textiles and furniture bring in about $2.5 billion annually, with products shipped to over 100 countries. High Point remains the furniture capital of the world, hosting a market twice a year that draws more than 70,000 buyers and creates more than $6 billion in economic impact. Yet this scale is modest compared to what the state once knew. The contrast is striking. In the 1970s, more than 300,000 North Carolinians worked in textiles and apparel alone. By the 1990s, jobs began leaving for Mexico, China, and Southeast Asia, where wages were far lower. Between 1990 and 2010, the state lost over 200,000 textile jobs. Entire communities that depended on mills and factories saw unemployment double, and young people moved away in search of opportunity. What remains today are smaller, leaner operations that focus on design, branding, and specialized production. Companies are adapting to survive. Hanes Brands still operates in Winston-Salem and manages labels like Champion and Hanes, with Champion generating billions in sales worldwide. Unify, based in Greensboro, produces advanced fibers like Reprieve, made from recycled plastic bottles, which are used by Nike, Adidas, and Patagonia. These firms give North Carolina a role in the high-tech and sustainable side of the textile market. Furniture makers also survive by emphasizing quality, design, and heritage rather than mass production. Even with these adjustments, the reality is clear. North Carolina's textile and furniture industries are only a pale shadow of their former size. The brick mills that once employed entire towns now stand empty or have been converted into loft apartments and breweries. Wages in surviving factories remain well below the state average, and most workers see little security compared to the past. The glory years of endless jobs and booming exports are gone, replaced by niche markets and limited opportunities. North Carolina still makes clothes and furniture that reach homes across the globe, but the collapse of mass production reshaped the state forever. Do you think the reinvention around global brands and high-tech fabrics is enough to keep the industry alive, or will it continue to fade with time? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us what you think. Number 4. NASCAR Nation. North Carolina is the beating heart of NASCAR. More than 90% of NASCAR teams are based here, clustered around Charlotte and Concord. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Richard Childress Racing run world-class garages that employ thousands of engineers, mechanics, and specialists. The NASCAR Research and Development Center is also located in Concord, which makes North Carolina the center of innovation for the sport. The scale of the industry is enormous. NASCAR supports around 25,000 jobs in North Carolina and generates nearly $5 billion in total annual economic impact. The Charlotte Motor Speedway alone seats over 80,000 fans and hosts the Coca-Cola 600, the longest race in the NASCAR calendar. Events at Charlotte and other tracks produce more than $450 million a year in local impact, fueling hotels, restaurants, and small businesses. Each race weekend turns Charlotte and Concord into booming festival grounds where the entire community benefits. For residents, NASCAR is not just an industry, but also culture and identity. Families pass down their loyalty to teams and drivers through generations. The NASCAR Hall of Fame in downtown Charlotte celebrates this tradition and attracts more than 200,000 visitors every year. It preserves cars, trophies, and memories of champions while drawing tourists who add millions to the economy. Racing culture shapes local pride and remains one of the strongest links between North Carolina and American sports. The history provides context for this dominance. NASCAR traces its roots to the 1940s when stock car racing grew out of moonshine runners modifying cars to outrun the law. The first official NASCAR race was held in 1949, and North Carolina drivers quickly became national stars. Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, and many others came from the Carolinas and built legends that remain iconic today. While NASCAR now stretches nationwide, its soul has always stayed tied to this state. Modern NASCAR adapts to new realities. Attendance is lower than at the peak of the early 2000s, but television rights and sponsorships keep billions flowing. Safety technology, hybrid engines, and social media outreach aim to capture younger audiences. Charlotte and Concord continue to host races that fill tens of thousands of seats and remind fans that North Carolina remains at the center of the racing world. North Carolina is still NASCAR Nation, a place where racing is both tradition and business. Would you travel to Charlotte to see the roar of the engines in person, or do you believe NASCAR's best years are already behind it? Share your opinion in the comments and let us know. Number 3. Rural struggles. North Carolina is home to booming cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, but about 4 million residents still live in rural areas. That is nearly 40% of the state's population spread across 80 counties. For many of these communities, the story is not about growth, but about survival. Population has declined in dozens of rural counties over the past 2 decades as younger people leave in search of jobs. This migration reshapes the map of the state and deepens the divide between cities and countryside. The economic numbers show the struggle clearly. Median household income in North Carolina is about $67,000, but in rural counties it can be 20% lower. In some places, it falls under $45,000 a year. Unemployment rates often run above the state average, and poverty rates can reach more than 20% of the population. Factories that once anchored small towns closed in the 1990s and 2000s, leaving few stable employers behind. Families turn to seasonal farm work, retail, or service jobs that rarely provide long-term security. Healthcare is another critical issue. Since 2005, more than a dozen rural hospitals have closed in North Carolina, forcing residents to travel hours for emergency care. Many small counties do not have enough doctors, and shortages of nurses are even more severe. The lack of access raises health risks for seniors, who make up a growing share of the rural population. Medicaid expansion in 2023 has helped cover more people, but infrastructure gaps remain. Local clinics struggle to stay open, and ambulances often face long drives to reach hospitals in larger cities. Education follows the same pattern. Rural school districts receive less funding and have difficulty hiring teachers. High school graduation rates are improving statewide, but rural areas still lag behind urban counties. Fewer students go on to college, and those who do often leave and never return. This cycle drains rural communities of talent and makes it harder to attract businesses that demand skilled workers. Broadband internet access is another challenge, with thousands of households still without reliable service. The digital divide limits opportunities for education, healthcare, and remote work. There are efforts to turn the tide. State programs and federal grants have funded new broadband projects and workforce training centers. Agribusiness and renewable energy projects, such as solar farms and biomass plants, bring some investment. Tourism in the Blue Ridge Mountains and coastal plains also supports small businesses. Yet the scale of these programs is modest compared to the scale of decline. Many rural families still feel left behind as cities boom with tech, banking, and research. North Carolina's rural communities are proud and resilient, but they face economic and social struggles that cannot be ignored. Are you from a rural part of North Carolina? How do you think the quality of life in these communities can be improved? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know. Number 2. America's largest home. North Carolina is home to the largest private residence in the United States, the Biltmore Estate. Located in Asheville, it rises above the Blue Ridge Mountains as a symbol of wealth and ambition. Covering more than 175,000 square feet, it dwarfs every other private home in America and today is valued at more than $200 million. More than 1.4 million people visit every year, making it one of the most famous landmarks in the South. The story began with George Washington Vanderbilt II, grandson of railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt. In 1889, he decided to build a home that would rival the palaces of Europe. Construction lasted 6 years, and at its peak involved more than 1,000 workers. When the house opened in 1895, it had 250 rooms, 35 bedrooms, and 43 bathrooms, a scale unimaginable for the time. Vanderbilt filled it with art, antiques, and rare books from around the world. The Biltmore became a national sensation and a symbol of the extreme wealth of America's Gilded Age. At the same time, it stood in sharp contrast to the modest farmhouses where most North Carolinians lived. The contrast only deepened during the 20th century. While textile workers earned pennies, the Biltmore represented opulence and privilege. During the Great Depression, the family opened it to the public to help cover the enormous costs of maintenance. Over time, it evolved into a business empire. Today, it is still owned by Vanderbilt descendants, who manage it through the Biltmore Company. The estate sustains thousands of jobs and pumps hundreds of millions of dollars into Western North Carolina's economy each year. In fact, tourism linked to the Biltmore generates more than $2 billion annually when visitor spending across hotels, restaurants, and shops in Asheville is included. That impact makes it one of the most important private employers and economic engines in the state. Beyond money, it has also turned Asheville into a national destination for culture, food, and luxury travel. With the Biltmore brand serving as the city's global calling card, visitors now tour the Grand Banquet Hall with its 70-foot ceiling, the library that holds more than 20,000 volumes, and gardens designed by landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted. The estate also runs a successful winery, hotels, and restaurants that attract tourists for days at a time. For Asheville and Buncombe County, the Biltmore is the anchor of the tourism economy, drawing guests from across the country and abroad. The Biltmore is admired for its beauty, yet it also sparks questions about wealth and legacy. When you think about your own family, how much did the first home they bought actually cost? Share your story in the comments and let us know. Now it's time to find out the correct answer to the quiz. What is the official state vegetable of North Carolina? A. Corn. B. Sweet potato. C. Tomato. D. Cabbage. The correct answer is B. Sweet potato. Number 1. Sweet potato state. North Carolina is the undisputed leader in sweet potato production. The state grows nearly 60% of all the sweet potatoes harvested in the United States, far more than any other region. Each year, the crop generates more than $300 million in sales and supports thousands of jobs in farming, packaging, and distribution. Fields stretch across the eastern counties, where the soil and climate create perfect conditions for the crop. From local grocery stores to international markets, sweet potatoes with North Carolina labels are shipped far and wide. This vegetable is more than just an economic driver. In 1995, the state legislature made the sweet potato the official state vegetable, recognizing its importance to North Carolina's identity. Festivals celebrate it every year, with cooking contests and parades honoring the crop. Restaurants across the state showcase sweet potato dishes, from fries to soups to the iconic sweet potato pie. Breweries even craft seasonal beers flavored with the crop. The sweet potato has become both a cultural symbol and a point of pride for the state's farmers. Yet the story of the sweet potato carries deep historical meaning as well. For centuries, it was a reliable staple food, long before North Carolina became an agricultural powerhouse. Native American communities cultivated it, and enslaved Africans relied on it for survival on plantations. The crop was hardy, affordable, and full of nutrients. During the Civil War, when supplies of grain and meat ran short, sweet potatoes helped feed soldiers and families alike. They became a lifeline in times of scarcity, a reminder of resilience during one of the hardest periods in American history. After emancipation, the sweet potato remained essential for freed African American families. It became a foundation of their diet and eventually transformed into a cultural symbol. The sweet potato pie in particular emerged as a beloved dish within African American communities, especially during holidays. Today, it stands as part of what is often called soul food, linking generations through flavor and tradition. What once represented survival has grown into a proud expression of identity. North Carolina continues to expand its role as the heart of the sweet potato industry. Advances in farming techniques and strong demand for healthier foods have pushed production even higher in recent decades. Exports now reach Europe and Asia, turning a local crop into a global commodity. While the industry has modernized with machinery and research labs, it still connects directly to the land and people who depend on it. For rural families, the sweet potato remains both a paycheck and a piece of heritage. Do you enjoy sweet potatoes? What is your favorite way to cook or eat them? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for exploring the hidden corners of North Carolina with us. Click on the video you see on the screen to check out other hidden discoveries on our channel.